Hi, welcome to Elizabeth's Kind Cafe. I'm Elizabeth Katzman, and today we are joined by Terry Robinson. Terry is a natural therapist at a New Life Allergy Treatment Center. She has offices in Birmingham and Canada. Hi, Terry.
Hi.
Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Great. I thought maybe we could start out with, if you could just tell us a little bit about what you do.
Sure. My background's in nursing, and I'm a natural therapist. I've been practicing for the last 11 years, testing and treating allergies and allergy-related conditions using natural techniques.
And what techniques do you use to diagnose and then treat the allergies?
Initially, I test on a computerized system. It's a meridian stress assessment. So it's based on the principles of Chinese medicine, principles of acupressure, and we're measuring energetic weaknesses. So I test 153 different items. It's painless, done on a computer. You hold a rod in one hand, and with a probe I put a little pressure on a pressure point, checking each item and checking whether or not it weakens the energy in your body. I test 153 different items, so I look at vitamins, minerals, and nutrients to see what you're absorbing, food and food groups to see if you're reacting to anything in your diet, and then environmental things like dusts, molds, pollens, things like that. Then the system generates a printout of the results, and then we kind of have a nice big picture of what's going on. And then I start a series of acupressure treatments to treat the allergies. The technique I use to treat allergies is called NAET, that stands for Nambudrapad's Allergy Elimination Technique.
Okay.
And that was developed by Dr. Devi Nambudrapad about 25 years ago. And it's a system that actually reprograms the body to accept items as something that's friendly rather than rejecting them. So I start by going through the list of what we found on the test, and I check for basic nutrients. I make sure they're being absorbed and I treat them. And then we get
basic nutrients being
vitamins, minerals, amino acids, calcium, just anything that's in the basic nutrient group. Then food items, we'll go through dairy and food additives and things like that that people are reacting to, gluten, wheat. And then lastly, we'll do environmental items.
Okay, and then to be fair, for full disclosure, I came into your office about a week ago to do the test and then an initial treatment. And I thought it was amazing because whenever I think about people getting treated or tested for allergies, I think of it as being sort of a painful experience with scratching and shots and pricks. And it was so quick and painless and relaxing, exactly the opposite of what I think traditional allergy treatments would be.
Right. It takes about 10 minutes for me to test the whole library that I do, the 153 different items, and it's suitable for people of almost all ages. You do have to sit fairly still for about the 10 minutes. And so if, maybe a 2-year-old would struggle with that a little bit, they can sit on their parent's lap. Older than that usually is fine, no problems.
And you can even treat as young as newborn babies with colic issues?
Absolutely. It's very effective for treating colic issues. Yeah, we basically can just treat the formula or the breast milk that the mother's feeding the baby with, because whatever they're reacting to is in there. And
so mom can just hold the baby and you can relatively quickly do a treatment?
For the treatment, absolutely, yeah. It just takes
that's
a few
incredible.
Minutes.
For anyone that's had a colicky baby.
I wish I knew about it when mine were younger, yes.
A few years ago. And maybe we should tell people exactly what an allergy is, what the definition is of an allergy.
Sure. An allergy, and there's a couple different paradigms. Now, Western medicine, I think everybody agrees that an allergy is an inappropriate response by your body. It's your body reacting to something that it doesn't need to react to. So in terms of Western medicine, they look at an allergy as something that produces histamine in the body. So there's different histamines and proteins that the body produces if it's trying to fight something or get rid of something. So something that's harmless, like pollen, for example, really will not harm your body. However, if for some reason your immune system decides it's going to overreact to this, it develops an allergy. So it reacts to the pollen when it doesn't need to. Now, according to Chinese medicine, an allergy is something that blocks the channels of energy in your body. So there's channels of energy or meridian channels that flow through your body, and when there's a stagnation in the flow of energy, they consider that to be an allergy or an illness. So their way of correcting it is to unblock the pathways, which is exactly what the treatment does.
And do you consider autism to be an allergy or a condition that triggers an allergy? How would you?
Autism, I do treat a lot of autistic kids, and I think there's a strong allergic component. So there are a number of conditions, autism being one of them, where allergy is a part of it or associated with it. Most of these children react to foods in their diet and are not absorbing nutrients like they should. So NAAT is very effective in clearing those energy pathways and allowing them to absorb the nutrition that they need to, and to detoxify their bodies like they need to in order to effectively get well, as well as absorb the food and not react to the food that they're eating.
And you believe there's a spectrum of autism. Where would you say it starts and ends?
I actually believe it starts with even ADD. Children with ADD respond the same way to these types of treatments that I do, whereas they're not absorbing these same nutrients that I'm finding in these autistic kids, just at a different level. And there's ADHD, there's Asperger's, which is kind of a very mild form of autism, and then there's autism, and then even high functioning and low functioning autism. So there's a whole range of children with various conditions that can be helped by getting them to absorb their nutrients and not react to what's in their environment and in their food.
And if someone were to come to you with some type of autism somewhere on the spectrum, how many treatments would it take for them to see an improvement?
An improvement, I would say it depends on where they fall on the spectrum. Usually if they've got ADD, ADHD, they would notice a change in just a few short treatments, maybe 3-4 treatments. Some even sooner, and some, this varies from child to child. With autism and even a low-functioning autism, it would take a lot longer to see results. Most of my patients who are in the spectrum are also getting some sort of other treatment or therapy, or even several other treatments or therapies.
Right, they're looking at it from a
right.
lot of different perspectives and approaches.
And I think that's very effective to do it that way, just
right.
to kind of attack it from a lot of different angles. There doesn't seem to be one technique that works for all of these children. So combining several of them is usually pretty effective. Seeing a biomedical doctor who can methylate the child or detoxify the child, along with doing some behavioral and some of this work here, is very effective for a lot of these children.
And what other conditions do you see that are often associated with allergies, conditions that you can treat?
Asthma, a lot of headaches, migraine headaches. Acid reflux often is associated with allergies. A lot of children now are getting acid reflux, babies with acid reflux. That's so common that we didn't see years ago. And a lot of it has to do with the diet, what the mothers are eating and what the babies are eating, and the amount of antibiotics that our mothers as well as the babies are given. Treating this way is very effective, as opposed to putting on antacids and different medications that these young children are being put on. There's also the typical allergy symptoms. There's chronic sinusitis and reacting to spring allergies, reacting to pollens, ragweed in the late summer, molds. Mold count is just starting to go up as we warm up, so we'll see a lot of mold allergies in the office soon.
And can people get treatments now if they're experiencing an allergy right now and they know it's a seasonal allergy? Let's say it's summertime and they're experiencing
right.
summer allergies. Can
right.
you treat it right then, or do you like to wait?
Well, that's a good question. When I do the testing, if they have some nutrients that they're not absorbing, and basically anybody with allergies does have an immune system that's compromised, so we'd have to treat those first. So if you come in the middle of ragweed season and want to get treated for ragweed, I have to do all the basic nutrients that show up in your test before I can treat the ragweed. So it could be several treatments before we get there. Typically, it would be several treatments before we get there, so ragweed season could be over. Right. However, the next year when ragweed season comes along,
they'll be in better shape.
You'll be fine, yes.
And I hear a lot about candida, more and more.
Mm-hmm.
Can you maybe explain a little bit about what that is and
Right.
how it can be treated?
Sure. Candida is a yeast or a fungus in the intestinal system, and everybody has some of it. If you get an overgrowth of it, it's going to cause a problem. Because of our modern Western diet, the amount of antibiotics and hormones and chemicals in our food, as well as the amount of antibiotics that we are ingesting ourselves, and toxins in the air, environment, stress, there's a lot of components, a lot of different things that feed yeast. Mercury fillings, things like that have been connected to yeast overgrowth. So many people are walking around with an overgrowth of yeast. If you have that, you're very prone to developing allergies, as well as sinus, digestive, and skin problems. So it is something that I look for as somebody who treats allergies, and correcting that, treating somebody for that candida overgrowth while we're treating the allergies makes it much easier for me to clear out the allergies and less likely for my patients to develop more allergies down the road.
And the treatment that you use the acupressure that you use for most allergies, and then do you recommend any other changes for the patients as well?
Sure. With candida, I incorporate a lot of nutrition with it. We put our patients on a candida diet, which is basically taking them off refined sugar, cookies, candy, sweets, baked goods, pop, juice, and switching them to a more whole foods diet. As well, I give them a really good quality probiotic and monitor their progress as we go.
Okay. And what ages do you usually see people with candida? Is it any age? Or?
Actually, most newborns with colic have candida. So,
oh, interesting.
Yes, yes. You can get it from your mother. You can get it going through the birth canal.
Wow. And so, but then with babies, you can't treat their diet. You can, I mean, right, because they're just taking mom's milk at that point.
We put them on a probiotic, and I take a real good look at the mom's diet, and very often we'll put the mom on a diet. Usually if the baby's got a candida overgrowth, so does the mother, and once I explain that to them, the mothers, we put you know,
so
both
you have
of
to
them.
treat both
we
usually.
treat both of them, yeah.
And can it come back once it's been treated?
Candida,
Yeah.
sure. If you go back to a diet high in sugar, high in carbohydrates, or exposed to the things that gave you the candida in the first place, the candida overgrowth, then yes, antibiotic use, certain medications, hormones.
And how about gluten intolerances? Can you help people with that?
Sure. If it's a gluten intolerance, we treat it the same way as we do an allergy. I test it and treat it just as I would any other. It can be a little bit more stubborn. In the last 11 years, I'm seeing more and more of it. I believe it's because we're genetically modifying our wheat, which we didn't do years ago, and people are not reacting well to the changes in the actual food itself. Celiac disease is something a little bit different. You're actually missing an enzyme you need to break down the gluten, and the technique that I use will very often help them, not always treat it 100%. But definitely if it's a sensitivity, yes, we can treat that.
Do you think that celiac is related at all with genetically modifying foods as well? Or
very well could be, just because there's such an increase in it since we've been genetically modifying.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for being with us today. I think this is really revolutionary. People don't have to go through all of the pain and discomforts of allergy tests, allergy treatments. The fact that babies and small children can be tested painlessly and quickly is phenomenal. And you have offices in Birmingham, Michigan, and in Canada.
In Windsor, yes.
So you're easy to get to by a lot of people. And if people want more information, they can check out, is it newlifeallergy.com?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, so I'd like to thank Terry Robinson for being with us today. If you'd like more information, you can go to newlifeallergy.com, and I'll also have information on my website at elizabethskindcafe.com. And stick around because we'll be right back. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Teddy Bruschi.
And I'm Jerome Bettis. For years, we knocked heads on the football field every time the Pittsburgh Steelers
and New England Patriots played. But now we're teaming up
to help people all across America who are uninsured and struggling financially.
It's the Partnership for Prescription Assistance, and it's already helped more than 6 million Americans in need in all 50 states.
If you or someone you know needs help paying for medicine, call 1-888-4-PPA now. or visit our website at www.pparx.org to see if you may qualify.
It's a free service, a free phone call, and you can get your medicines for free too.
Winning the Super Bowl is a great feeling.
Winning 3 is even better. But so is helping millions of Americans who are uninsured and struggling.
Call the Partnership for Prescription Assistance toll-free number now. The PPA team is standing by to help.
Hey, you know I was just kidding about the 3 championships.
Well, if you ask me.
Hi, welcome to Elizabeth's Kind Cafe. I'm Elizabeth Katzman, and today we are joined by author, nutritionist, Cheryl Shenefeld. Cheryl, thanks for being with us today.
Thanks for having me.
So you've now finished your 4th book. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about the first 3?
Sure, yeah. The first one was called The Guide to Healthy Eating, and it was just a basic overview on how to eat healthier, going through fats, proteins, carbs, just kind of basic overall general healthy eating, and also we included a lot of recipes.
Oh, that's great.
And then we have a lot of patients who have a lot of health issues and needed to go on gluten-free diets, so that ended up being our next book. To kind of guide people in that direction. So we have the guide to a gluten-free diet, and then we also have the guide to a dairy-free diet. Those kind of go hand in hand, and so they really guide people along.
And your latest book is The Soy Deception?
Yes.
And all 4 books are co-authored with Dr. David Brownstein?
Yes, he's the medical director of Center for Holistic Medicine in West Bloomfield.
And what is your background?
And I am a certified nutritionist. I've studied at an accredited university out of Colorado, American Health Science University, and did a lot of self-study as well, mainly because there's not a lot of great nutrition information out there in the media, and so a lot of self-study and research on my own to find what really resonated.
And what led you to decide to dedicate a whole book to soy?
Well, soy happens to be one of the first questions I get with patients. Can I eat soy? Is soy a good alternative? And or they're eating a lot of soy. And unfortunately, in our practice, we see a lot of people who are really sick, and they happen to be the people who are eating more soy in their diet. And they often have hormonal issues, thyroid problems, digestive complaints, and when we look at their diet, we find out they have a lot of soy in their diet.
But people, a lot of people think that soy is great and it's a miracle, it's a superfood. And why is that not the case?
Right, yes, it has. It's gotten a lot of media publicity, and the soy industry has definitely promoted it. It's a very cheap crop to grow, and it's also a very good moneymaker. So those 2 things are good incentives to get it out into the public and get people eating more of it.
And it's supposedly good for your heart, it's good to balance your hormones.
Right, these are a lot of the claims that are out there, and yet we have found that it actually does the opposite of a lot of those. We see a lot of people with thyroid issues, hormonal disruption. At first they might feel good eating soy, maybe the estrogen, but then you can't really monitor how much soy or how much estrogen you're getting in the soy, and so it ends up wreaking havoc on their hormones and causing other issues in the long run.
There's different ways that soy can be consumed, right? 2 primarily, fermented and non?
Yes, yes. In our book, we kind of decipher between the 2. There's fermented and non-fermented, and fermented is a process that was used, actually, this is when the Chinese actually started eating soy, was only after they discovered the fermentation process, which basically takes bacteria, yeast, and molds and alters the soybean and makes it more digestible. It neutralizes some of the harmful components, which are called phytic acid and trypsin inhibitor, and it also seems to decrease the effect on the thyroid.
Okay, so when people think of Asian societies being so healthy and they link that to soy, it's really misleading because it's actually the fermented soy.
Correct.
And consumed in smaller amounts.
In smaller amounts, yes. So people in Asian cultures did not eat soy milk for breakfast and soy hot dogs for lunch and boca burgers for dinner and all these different soy foods that we think are healthy for us in the Western societies.
And the majority of soy is genetically modified.
Yes, if it's not organic, then you can almost be
pretty much 90% sure that it's probably genetically modified, because about 90% of soy is genetically modified.
What does that mean exactly?
That means that they've taken genes and spliced them together from different organisms. They often as well use, as far as in soy, they use a gene to make it resistant to certain herbicides. For instance, like Roundup Ready soy, produced by Monsanto, is one of the types of soy that when you spray it with herbicides, it can withstand. It's pretty much antibiotic resistant and herbicide resistant.
And so what effect does that have if we consume?
Yeah, so then we're
genetically-
getting those herbicides and into our bodies when we're eating those. And then also with the different genes and with the different experiments that they're doing, there's no known effect on how it affects the human body. But these things, they do know that these genetically modified organisms do withstand in the gut.
And is it regulated in any way by the government? Are the, is it being tracked, or are there labels?
Unfortunately, there's no labeling required at this time, and so you really can't be sure if you're getting genetically modified organisms unless the only way you know for sure is if you're buying an organic item. If it's organic, then it cannot be genetically modified.
And do you think that it's okay to consume organic soy that's not fermented? So, tofu that's not organic, and meat alternatives that aren't organic.
Yeah, I believe really if you're going to eat any kind of soy, to stick with fermented soy in small amounts along with a healthy diet. And really the non-fermented soy, if you get it in very minute quantities, may not be so horrible, but it's when you eat it on a regular basis, 2-3 times a day, soy milk every day for breakfast, soy protein bars, Boca burgers, that type of thing, that's when you can really start to see other issues.
Yeah, and the protein bars are interesting because I used to eat a lot of Zone bars.
Okay.
And I didn't look very carefully at the ingredients, and the first ingredient is soy isolated protein.
Soy protein isolate.
Yeah.
Yes.
And which is supposed to be one of the worst forms. Is that true?
It is. It's it's a toxic form of protein. It's actually was never even approved as a food ingredient. It doesn't have GRAS status, which is generally recognized as safe. And so it's a filler in a lot of food items. You'll see it in protein bars, protein powders, and now it's even showing up in a lot of other foods as a filler.
So if you want to avoid soy, what products are you avoiding then? Because it seems like it's in almost
Well, any kind of meat or dairy alternative. And then anything that has something, usually if it says vegetable oil, it's almost 90%, it's usually soybean oil. So oils are in a lot. Any kind of spreads in tubs, margarines, those types of things are going to have soybean oil. Salad dressings have or have the soybean oil in it. Soy milk is a very common alternative to dairy.
And cereals? Is it in a lot of
It's in some cereals. You'll find soy flour in a lot of baked goods. It's another filler, cheap filler.
And corn is also genetically modified. Are there a lot of similarities between, health risks that people have consuming non-organic corn?
Well, it's a little bit different because soy has the different things that are inherent to the actual soybean.
Okay.
But yes, anything that's genetically modified, I would suggest avoiding, which soy, corn, canola, cotton are all kind of the top 4 genetically modified.
And because they're genetically modified, they're sprayed continually, right? With pesticides, all of them are.
Right. Yeah, so the only way to really avoid that issue is by buying organic.
And how has the meat and dairy industries been impacted by soy? Does it affect the quality of those items? Are animals eating them? Or
yeah, well, if you're buying commercial products, then yeah, the animals are going to be fed a soybean meal in their diet. And so you really, even if you're buying something that you think is soy-free, you actually have to look at where it was processed, what were the animals actually eating, because it may indirectly have soy in it. For instance, even an egg, the chickens may have been fed a soybean meal feed, and so then your eggs are going to be contaminated with soy.
And how often are you seeing these problems with people who come to you?
It's fairly constant and regular, and sometimes you think, oh, this person has a thyroid condition, and then when you look deeply into their diet, you start to see that it could actually be more diet related that has caused it. Or women, especially menopausal women, they think, oh, I got to go on soy to protect myself and help myself through this menopause, and then later they end up with more serious issues.
So what is your recommendation for women who are looking for some relief and think soy is the answer? What alternative?
Well, there's other issues, definitely looking at your hormones and getting your hormones balanced. The doctor that I work with, Dr. Bronson, uses bioidentical hormones, and those work very quickly and give women great relief. Also vitamin E supplementation, we do address this in the book a little bit, and then balancing essential fatty acids is a good way to go to help relieve some of those symptoms.
Is there a safe level at all to eat soy? Can you say, you know, once a week, once a month? Is there any sort of estimate that you could give people?
I don't necessarily have, other than just eating small amounts with a good, healthy, varied diet and making sure that it's the fermented form of soy.
And I don't know if we made it clear what fermented is
so
exactly.
fermented forms would be miso, natto, tempeh, also tamari, which is fermented soy sauce, so shoyu or tamari are fermented forms of soy sauce. So those types of things they're okay in moderation. And if you occasionally have an edamame, which is this actual soybean, that's the younger soybean, it does have a little bit less toxins than, say, like a soy protein burger or soy protein isolate. But it's not something you want to be eating on a daily basis, or like popcorn for a snack. You wouldn't want to substitute those soybeans.
Right. And when is the Soy Deception coming out?
Yeah, the Soy Deception is out. It was released just last week, and so it's available on our website, thesoydeception.com.
Okay, and your other books, can people find that on the soydeception.com site as well? Or?
There is a link which takes them to drbrownstein.com, which is another site, and then also my site, which is aplacetobe.com.
Okay.
You can find all the books.
Well, thanks for being with us today. I think it's useful information. Soy is a very confusing topic for most people, I think, because of the reports that say it's so healthy for you. But like most things, if you dig a little deeper, you see that that's not always the case.
There's another side to it.
Yeah, with this for sure.
Yes. Well,
so thanks again for being with us. Thank you for joining us at Elizabeth's Kind Cafe. For more information, you can also check out elizabethskindcafe.com. Thank you.